to be learned about this strange world.
But the journey to the edge of space was not far enough.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Ethereal Explorer podcast. Today is a really exciting episode for me that even though my podcast is new, I feel like this episode has been 10 years in the making. And it's an episode about water. And I wouldn't be surprised if I end up doing like 5 or 10 episodes on water. But I'm super excited about my guest today, Selena. Thank you so much for being here. I have been waiting.
Thank you for having me.
I've been waiting so long for someone to nerd out about water with. So yes. Awesome. And I have like notes everywhere. I was just telling Selena, so I'm going to be probably looking around a little bit, but that's because this is such an amazing subject that has so many facets. So we are going on a journey today, everybody, and get your life jackets on, get your boats. We're going to be diving into the world of water in a way that hasn't really been talked about extensively yet. It's a lot of new concepts, honestly, even for me as a person who's been actively trying to hydrate myself for like a long time. I've been learning a lot of stuff recently. So this episode is sort of a 2-part episode. There's like more of a basic part about water and vitality and sort of water as a nutrient and why it's important to us and, as the bodies that we are and how we use it and why we need it and things like that. And then we are going on definitely to speak about how the world of water crosses over with the world of vibration and consciousness even. And, it's actually really eye-opening. And when the words water and consciousness first were in the same sentence together for me recently, I had a really hard time wrapping my head around that. But I promise you on this journey today, we're really going to unravel that mystery and bring everybody a new understanding on that. So, Selena, welcome. Why don't you tell us how you became our water fairy today?
I love that introduction. Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here and to be talking about something that is so dear and near to my heart, because water has quite literally saved me in so many ways, just developing a deeper connection to the planet that we are on, the bodies that we inhabit. So my name is Selena and I go by Illuminating Essence here online, and I have a whole platform to educate people on the consciousness of water, the proper water that we should be drinking, because in the mainstream knowledge, water's water and we don't have much information to go off of in terms of what's in our water and how that can really alter and distort the water's integrity and the structure. So that's something we're really going to dive deep into today. And I've done so much research and have been drinking a specific type of water now consistently for 3 years. In May is my water anniversary, is what I like to call it.
That's awesome.
So I'm just so grateful for Amy for this space, inviting me to just talk about it. And it's something that just lights me up inside to educate people on and to spark a remembrance. That's why I chose the name Illuminating Essence, because as I was in the darkest times of my life, I discovered my own light in that space. I remembered my true essence beyond all the chaos, the trauma, all the things that can cause us suffering in our lives, and to come back to the soul. And that's my purpose as well, with shining my own light and discovering my own essence, is my intention to do the same for others and guide people back home.
That's so beautiful. There's definitely a couple things that I'm not sure if people are aware of, because I know that we're talking about the structure of water and some people are like, water doesn't have a structure. It just spills everywhere. So bringing that concept of that water can be structured, the molecules can be arranged and organized. We see it as just this like fluid thing that has no structure, but on the molecular level, it is very structured or unstructured, but there's an influence that we can have on that. And the structure of the water that we put into our bodies, it retains that. And am I right? Like, this is kind of the concept of how, firstly, obviously, I think society at large recognizes, okay, we need 8 glasses of water a day or something. Like, water is recognized as something that we recommend for humans to intake on a regular basis. So that recognition is sort of collective and worldwide. But how does it go deeper than that? Like, how does the structure or quality of the water mean anything once it goes in?
Yeah. So that's definitely like just the tip of the iceberg when diving into the importance of water, because we're told that we need to drink water, but we're not told, the actual origin of water in its natural, untouched form. So the way I like to describe it when it comes down to the structure of water is bringing it back to nature. And there are places in the world called blue zones that have fountain of youth springs where people are lining up to receive the healing benefits that are in these waters. And the reason why it's so healing is because it hasn't been altered by man. Like, nothing has been touched. There's no pollution. There's no toxins in the area. Like, these are blue zones as well, where the soil is so rich that the people that live on these lands are actually living to be the longest in the world. So there are these little pockets. And when you look at the water under a microscope, now we're literally looking at water on a deeper level. Like, we can't see the structure of water visually, but there are researchers and scientists that have wanted to dive deeper into why water is able to do what it does for us, which is give us energy, detox us, purify our vessels, clear our mind, just feel whole, like that element of filling up your cup so that you feel good and you can show up in the world and do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. So the structure of these fountain of youth springs is crystalline in form. Like, they literally form crystals when you start to look at the photography of them, and when they're frozen and you're able to see that moment in time of what it truly looks like. Mm-hmm. And to be able to compare that to tap water, for example, to be able to compare that to bottled water and how distorted and separated and bulky and big that the structure, is in the water. And so it's one thing to see that visually, and then it's a whole other thing to dive into our cells in our body and how our body is meant to intake structured water, because internally we are structured water. Our blood is like plasma. It has the crystalline structure to it when analyzed. Our brain is covered in cerebral spinal fluid, that's structured water down our spine. When we're in our mother's womb, the amniotic fluid is structured water. So our body is naturally looking for that externally. Mm-hmm. And so as we are beings that vibrate and are electric and are made up of energy, when you dive deeper into frequency vibration, the Tesla codes, like, that is everything that makes up this entire experience. And at first it could be like, whoa, what? But then when you start to dive into the avenues of information, because it's actually deep down so natural to us, we start to spark those remembrances, and water is acting as that conduit to relay the information to us that this is natural. Our water is supposed to be like this. Mm-hmm. So that's where I always bring it back to is the blue zones and, the people that are literally lining up to receive this water that's rich in hydrogen. The soil is so pure that the electromagnetic field of the earth is charging it with energy. And then it's being charged by the sunlight. So it has both polarities of, like, the sky, the father energy of the spark, and then the mother energy of holding it with the magnetic. Yeah. So it's, definitely that's a good start.
Yeah, totally. I have so many things that were sparking in my mind, and it's like, if I could personify my body, this is what it says. When I drink tap water, it says, What am I supposed to do with this? It just says,
Right.
what is this? What do I
Yeah.
do? Like, it's all messy. Like, and so,
Yeah.
when I drink
Right.
better water, I like, this is real. Like, I actually feel like it's absorbing before it even hits my stomach. Like, I don't even know if that's a thing, but if I drink a really good glass of
Oh,
water,
it
it's
is.
just like, and I'm like, that didn't even
Right.
hit my stomach.
Right?
So like, I think
Yeah.
the structure of water, I feel it. Like, my body will either be like, okay, I don't know if we can work with this, or it'll be like, F yes, more of that one.
Yep.
Like, there's certain water that I
Yeah.
go to. So like, yeah, I definitely feel
Yeah.
that. And then also, just for definition's sake, the word crystalline, because that one confused me for a while, because I'm like, crystals to me are like amethysts or something, but crystalline just means that it's a structure that is any structure of ions, or molecules or
Yes.
atoms that are held together in like an ordered way. So crystalline doesn't indicate,
Right.
it's not turning into diamonds, or like, some people are like,
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. So not to say it's crystals, but like the structure becomes crystalline, which is just geometric.
Right.
And then also, the other almost, I wouldn't say missing component, but less talked about component, is that our bodies are electrical. And I am like understanding that more and more and more, because we truly are. The first thing I heard was that the heart was electrical, and there was some component of, I'm not a scientist, but it was like magnesium being integral to your heart, being able to create the electrical pulse it needs to beat. And magnesium is an electrolyte. But yeah, so I always knew like your heart was electrical, and basically the whole body is electrical. And so, water as a delivery of electrolytes to our bodies is really important. And I don't know if you know about how like tap water must be missing. So it's so removed from the natural source. It's missing ions, it's missing electrolytes, and not only is it missing things, but it's also the stuff we've added to it is a little like, your body's like,
It's a crime against humanity, honestly. That's exactly what it is.
I would like to
Like,
just,
crime.
yeah, that I recognize. And I also, just in case anyone's maybe misinterpreting us too, like, I just want to make sure, like, I'm grateful. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'm grateful that we do live in a country and a time when drinkable water is easily accessible, because I know not everyone all over the globe has that. I am super grateful for our access and where we've brought the technology so far. But also, that doesn't mean we shouldn't continue to learn and receive the information and make all the systems better. So, on the basis of gratitude, we recognize that there's a lot more work to be done. That's what I say for myself, anyway. Yeah. So,
For sure.
yeah, but how much crap is in the water is definitely problematic. So,
Yeah. No, 100%. And it really does play a big toll on us as people that need that water with the electrons. And not only is it missing the electrons in like that electrical component and the life force, basically, because it's been taken so far from source and gone through all this processing to get to us. It goes through right angled pipes, like every corner it goes, like life force is just being zapped. Like, she's literally, she's an androgynous being, but water like is feminine for me in a lot of ways. And she just tossed left, right, and center. Like, I'd want to be dead too if I was her, There's not much left of her at that point. And then with the pollutants and the toxins and the heavy metals that we're putting in our water, that then distorts the structure as well. Because, yeah, we'll dive into how water is that receiving like element that can really take in information and become that which is subject to. So that, with the pollutants, you start to connect dots as to why the structure really is as distorted as it is. And like you said, it makes complete sense that when you drink water, if you feel it slushing around in your stomach, that means it hasn't been absorbed, and it's literally just going to, you're just going to pee it out. But with specifically structured water, ionized water that has the charge, you literally feel it going into your bloodstream immediately. You could drink a gallon of this stuff and go for a run. You may need to pee in a little bit, but like, there, you're not going to feel that slushiness or that bloating that you could feel from bottled water, tap water, that sort of thing.
That's so weird. And also because like my story with my water journey story starts because I wasn't still kind of am like a chronically thirsty person. Like I'm just like, I'm always thirsty. Why am I so thirsty all the time? And then I drink a bunch of water and I felt this like sloshing in my stomach and I'm like, absorb, come on. Like I was thirsty.
Right?
I gave you water. Like what else do you want?
Yeah.
So
and our
then
bodies are so intelligent. So our bodies are like, that's not actual like pure water. I can't do anything with that.
Yeah, so I've been on this journey of like electrolytes and mineralization and like filtering and like, oh man, it's been crazy, but I feel like I still don't have, my body's still like, nope, there's more work. Like this isn't right yet. And I'm trying to crack the code on how to give my body the best like structured clean water so I can stop being thirsty after like forever and a decade. So
I feel you, sis. It's a struggle. I mean, I went through the same thing, and I'm grateful I found a solution, and I'm here to share it with other people. And like I'll set you up when you're ready and you want to plunge, like you will quench that thirst.
So how do you do that? Is it with the kangen? Should we?
Yeah.
Talk about
just
that?
Diving right into that. Like I was going through many different avenues with remineralization. I was getting reverse osmosis because that gets rid of all the contaminants. But then you want to make sure that you're remineralizing RO, which is reverse osmosis, because then everything's stripped from the water. You need active minerals, which is going to give that life. So I was on a path with filtering. I went through my tiers with like Brita filter and like a few others. And then I made it to RO and I was going to fill up jugs, every week. The labor of that was a lot. But I knew it was worth it. Then I tried, getting spring water from a nearby spring. I ended up testing the spring and there was still a lot of, outside factors where there's pollution happening just down the road and it's soaking it in. The soil is taking all that in. And we'll definitely share tools towards the end as to how you can test your water and how you can find life in the water. But I started going down that avenue. I'm like, wait, there's a whole other, like filtration is one thing, but then ionization is a whole other game. And that was when I attracted somebody on Instagram that was super health conscious. She was into meditation, Chinese medicine, all these things. And I was on that path too of incorporating a lot more mindfulness and taking care of my body and releasing stress from my life, cutting out, toxic relationships, toxic foods. And then water was the next thing for me. And I was like, I got to reach out to this girl because she seems like she knows what she's doing. And I wonder what her water situation is like. So she said, I'm doing RO and remineralization too at the same time as I was. But she said, I'm saving up for a kangen machine. And as soon as I heard the word kangen, I was like, kangen, what is that? That sounds cool. Like, wow, tell me more. I was just so curious. Like I was so open to receiving because I still wasn't feeling like it was doing much for me. Like I still felt thirsty. It was still hard for me to take in the water. And her saying that sparked something in my body. And then both of us coming together to invest around the same time into the machines and educate ourselves, watching videos of how this machine can structure the water and infuse it with the hydrogen, and watching the bubbles, like my cells were starting to be like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. Like I'm getting even more thirstier leading up to it. So that was what I decided to do. I spent a lot of money towards a medical grade, highest quality ionizer on the market. They come from Japan. Everything is original equipment manufactured, like everything's in-house. One person makes an entire machine. And the way that it is created with the intention that it has to mimic the Fountain of Youth Springs that we were just saying, because it has this power inside of it that's infusing the voltage inside and is able to restructure and deliver you with the proper water that your body needs. And like I said at the beginning of this, been drinking it for 3 years. I haven't gone maybe 2 days without it. And I'm telling you, every single day when I go to that machine and fill up in the morning, I am beaming with energy, ready to go. And I'm just filling up throughout the day. Like, my relationship with water has shifted so much because of it. And I've helped hundreds of people now on my journey do the same and witness the same ripple effect where they were trying everything and then they finally found the solution and they quenched it. They quenched that thirst and they've never looked back.
I've heard so many cool anecdotal stories about what happened for people when they changed to this much better water. And like, was there any massive shift with you, or were you already, because you'd already been working on your health, maybe you were already balanced, or?
I would say for me, I suffered from really bad migraines. It's something within my family lineage on my mom's side, like cluster headaches and just so much pressure here. Even my father as well. That alleviated my headaches. I have literally not had a migraine since. And if I get the slightest bit of like brain fog, I realize, oh, I haven't drank barely any water today. So let's take care of that. So the brain fog, headaches, like this region, it literally felt like I just wiped this huge veil before my eyes and just was able to see the world clearer and feel clearer. So that's the number one thing. I don't get headaches anymore.
Wow.
And because like our nervous system is starting here in the brain, my anxiety like alleviated as well. I used to have debilitating anxiety. Like I would hate being in crowds. I wouldn't even be able to have this type of conversation right now because I was so like introverted and totally different than who I am now, which is my true self. I was just hiding and scared. But yeah, the head region and also my digestive, like the amount of womb healing that I went through and the detox within that region, I didn't realize how bad my gut was until I started drinking this water and feeling like I could finally have like, you know, normal bowel movements, TMI, but like that's a good thing we should be talking about, you know?
Literally everyone who I've spoken to about this has said that same thing. Like, you probably don't want to know, but my digestion like is all better. And I was just like, everyone is saying that. So
we call them kangen poops. Dude, I'm serious, like I've shared it with my dad's friend once. He had a glass and ran to the washroom.
His body's like, I can finally move this. Oh my God.
Yeah, there was a lot of stored energy and just even with the headaches, like there was so much stagnancy, like the clusters of energy just like waiting to be released. Because when you're rehydrating yourself, you are releasing things that you've been like holding and gripping onto and almost accepting as normal. So many of us start to accept our suffering as just, oh, it's just normal that I get headaches at this time of the day, or it's just normal that I'm tired or annoyed or agitated or hormonal. Like so many of it is normalized in today's day and age. And it's so normalized to just have a pill that you take every single day that's going to, you know, serve you for your entire lifetime. And that's where water's really revolutionizing the medical industry, which is why the machines aren't necessarily mainstream. And there's a lot of misinformation about the kangen machines out there too. So I am here as well to guide people to the right information. And we live in a world of information. So if like you're skeptical, you're questioning it, you'll find information to back that like skepticism up. But if you're in it, like then you'll find information. Like, it's all an attraction too, but there's always going to be both sides, people that agree, people that don't. I focus on my testimony. Nobody can debunk like the conviction I have and how I feel.
That's all it is. And everybody just try the thing for yourself before you decide what the 100%. Opinion is going to be. Right. For sure. Yeah, just be curious. Just be curious. And I love being open to the fact that I might be wrong and then being proven wrong. Like, I love it. I'm like, yes. Like, I didn't think I was going to be right. And yeah, I you know, like I love being swayed because it's just great. I love that. So I'm just curious about the kangen machine. So does it filter? Like, is there like a filter? Like, what is it doing? Like, is it filtering?
Mhm.
And is there an electrical thing happening? Like, I'm curious.
Yes. So the first chamber that it goes through when the water from your tap is hooked up to it is a filter. It's a carbon filter.
Okay.
Now, depending on your area, sometimes you need pre-filtration if there is a lot of stuff in your water, because number one thing with this machine, and the number one thing that you're paying for as well with the quality, is platinum dipped titanium plates. So it goes through the filter. And most areas too, like I didn't need a filter where I was at, like pre-filters. The one in the machine was fine. But sometimes you need pre-filters just to help it out and get everything out. So it goes through the filter, and then there's the component of the plates. So that is what's infusing the voltage. That's the energy conductor, the titanium. That it's a process called electrolysis, which is AKA ionization, where the voltage is splitting the molecules up into a positive and a negative charge. So the more negative it is, the more alkaline it is. And the more positive it is, the more acidic it is. So the machine produces alkaline and acidic waters that vary in over 100 uses with the different pH settings that the machine has. So it's a very versatile device that you can use certain pHs for your skin, for cleaning your produce, getting pesticides off. I use the acidic water for cleaning my entire house. I use it as deodorant. I use it as mouthwash. I use it as face wash. Like, I don't have any cleaning products in my home anymore. Everything is just water, honest to God. And I love it.
That's so cool. Like, the potential is there, and you just change the setting.
Yeah, it's really as quick as a button. Like, it's very, like, it comes from Japan too. So the Japanese technology, like, they want to make it easy, but also so, like, revolutionary. And by 2030, everyone's going to have these machines in their home. Like, it's going to be like another kitchen appliance.
Yeah.
Where it's a necessary thing. And another like side to that too, because of how much it replaces off the shelves in the market and the grocery store. Another reason why it's not pushed to the mainstream, because it's going to wipe out all these corporations that, in my opinion, with when you start looking into some of the cleaning products we're using with ammonia in it and like toxins, it's hurting us long term. And when you start to realize the connection with pesticides and how that can affect us over time, what's sprayed on our food, like gratitude for the tools that we have to be able to combat some of the things that we've done to our planet, to our fruits and vegetables, to just in general the ecosystem, and knowing that that played a role and is teaching us what's not good and what is, and also us playing a role to help solve those issues and come up with a solution. And the number one thing that's overlooked as a solution is the solvent of water, and how it really can solve our problems and be used in a variety of ways.
It's a solvent. It solves problems. Wow.
Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt.
That's a good idea, actually.
I know. I'm full of good ideas.
I love that.
Oh, so cool. Platinum and titanium. Okay. Yeah, that's magic in there.
Yeah, that's like the main component of the machine. That's what's doing all of the magic. And you have that filtration, that's number one, but like the biggest component, because even when you're filtering something and then there may be contaminants that are going through the ionization process, a lot of pollutants and chemicals are acidic in nature, like how they are in the compound. So it'll literally go out the acidic tube. So you're not actually drinking that water. So the ionization process can actually split up the chemical compounds in the metals or pollutants, and it goes out the acidic tube, which is not what you're drinking.
Whoa. Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I love the Japanese. They come up with the greatest stuff. I love them for that. Thank you. Wow. That's awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like we could continue talking about the health part of it and all of that for like ever.
I
But
know.
the other interesting component that is so cool is more going down that structure hole, where it's like okay, the concept of what we think can affect the structure of the water that we have. Or so basically, like if you consider water as a medium which can be imprinted upon. And you've just explained how the kangen machine has this ability to basically organize the water in this way or that way. How about we talk about water and consciousness and how this relationship works?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's the thing that I know people are like, I don't know about that, but let's bring them along on this journey.
Yeah. It can definitely seem a little woo-woo. But again, like there are researchers out there, and scientists and doctors now that are actually like, accepting the fact that there is a spirit in water, that it is alive, it is conscious, and it can be influenced by things.
Can I?
So the number one,
I
of course.
Just because for me, I think maybe a lot of people like I think as humans we think that consciousness means ultimate intelligence, but really I just want to define consciousness here because so we all understand it's the sort of like Webster dictionary definition is that consciousness is intrinsic causal power associated with complex mechanisms, and in layman's terms it's consciousness is being aware and responsive to the environment. And so when I need to wrap my head around why we're talking about water as being conscious. How are we even starting to do that? It's because of water's proven ability to be responsive, like be aware and responsive to the environment. And so I just wanted to add that so we can all
thank you.
Bring that in with this conversation.
No, I love that. Like it's going back to how if it's influenced by stimuli, being able to analyze that and see how it interacts with it. So somebody that I really like to refer people to in these types of experiments and what we talked about when we first connected was Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he is definitely a renowned, person on this planet that is known for doing research into this. But he's not the first one. I'm actually reading a book right now called The Water Code. And there were many, many, many researchers before him. But he's the one that's kind of hit like mainstream media. And, a lot of people know about him. But if you don't, then here you are learning about him. And I suggest and encourage and welcome you into, his teachings about it. So he has this rice experiment. And this particular thing I'm going to talk about is like thought. And maybe you can talk about a little bit that too, like where we're thinking something and literally sending like that energy and that wording, even if you're doing it physically, but also like thinking something and how that can manifest in material form.
I think that
even though that can seem like, out there.
Yeah, I think I have to do a whole other episode on that. And it's a new concept that I think we're coming around to, but recognizing that thoughts aren't inert. They're not nothing. They actually have a wave. They actually have an effect on things. And there's a lot of research to say this. But yeah, just you have to embrace the idea that your thoughts are not inert. Your thoughts have effects. And so I know that's a hard one to like wrap our heads around because we like to see proof and we like to see in real time that these things are happening, and it's not always doing that. But yeah, check out one of my future episodes on how thoughts are things. Hasn't been recorded yet. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so his experiment, he actually was saying the words out loud, but there have been other experiments where like you're thinking a certain thing and sending an intention into your water and what that can do.
It's the same
But
because spoken is also what you're
yeah,
thinking. It's all, and like, yeah, and
right,
then we know that the voice, we can hear it. So we're like, okay, we're closer to
right,
understanding that a voice can have
right.
an effect. But
Oh my gosh, yes. Like I've watched this video where it's like you say rock star outside of yourself, like rock star, and then you say it in your head.
yes,
Who just said that? What just said that?
you did.
Right? Yeah. So that definitely can be like a harder pill to swallow. I know it was for my journey where I'm like, wait, my thoughts are creating my reality. My thoughts are creating how I feel. And that was when I became more mindful of what am I thinking about myself? Do I love myself or am I hating on myself? Am I judging and nitpicking? Am I doing that for others too? Like, am I judging? What am I thinking? And once I got clear on what I was thinking, externally as within, so without, things started to shift, and that's been my experience. And that's where I'm speaking upon when talking about this in particular too, is just the conviction that I know it's real. And it's beautiful to witness other people get that spark and experiment with that too and see what happens. So this experiment with Dr. Masaru Emoto, he had 3 glasses of water, all the same water, and he put rice into each one. And the first one, I think it was a 2-week experiment or maybe just 1 week, he was saying arigato, which means thank you in Japanese, to the first glass. So that vibration of thank you, it's like gratitude, that's a high frequency. When we feel gratitude, that feels good. So it's a higher frequency. Just like if we were to feel shame, hey, it's kind of lower, That's just the laws of frequency too. So the middle one, he was saying, I hate you. Like, I hate you. I despise you. Like, you're disgusting. Like, he was just sending that energy to that poor cup of water and rice. So then the third one, he completely ignored. He pretended like it didn't even exist. And then a week later, you're able to literally visually see the difference between each cup. So the first one where he said arigato, thank you, was beautifully fermented. Like it was fermented rice. It was perfect. The middle one turned black when he said I hate you to it. Totally black. So even thinking, again, if you're telling yourself you hate yourself and you hate others, you're walking around with a lot of darkness on your shoulders. You are feeling that within yourself. And that doesn't feel good over time. And sometimes it takes like to a breaking point where you're like, hey, enough is enough. I want to emerge into the light now. Thank you. And then the third one where he completely ignored turned moldy. And that in and of itself, when we ignore our health, we turn into mold. We start to perish. We start to not do so well. And I just love that experiment because visually you're able to see the impact of the words and the frequencies he was casting on them. And this is available on YouTube if you ever want to look at the rice experiments with Dr. Masaru Emoto. It's all there to see for yourself.
I love that. I love those ways that we can actually make these things visible because I just trust, like, because in my own body that it feels right, but it's good to see the visual representation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all so interesting. So, so much cool information about waters as stores of information, or our bodies are bodies of water. We're like liquid crystal receiver like bodies. We're sophisticated systems of water. Like, aren't we, like mostly water? Like not mostly, but I think we talked about this a little bit because when you Google it, the statistic is all over the place. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're 75% water, and then sometimes
Yeah, like a healthy individual is about 75%.
that's so crazy to me. Crazy, but not, because like I got this scale that tells me because I was so thirsty. This is why I did this. I'm like, how much water
Yes.
am I? And so it'll tell me my bone mass and my water content and my muscle mass and all that. And I've been as low as like 50% water. Like I'm like 50 to 55. I know I don't want to say bad, but I'm like, I feel that. I feel like my body's just like, how can I take in more water? And yeah, so we were talking about how in a like you are potentially 75% water in like a good state of health with good water that is able to be absorbed and all of that. So yeah, I'm interested in increasing that number for myself because, well, mostly and it's not because I've been told I should, it's because my body feels like it's always asking for that. So
Right, water's life.
always teaching people to like listen to what their body is telling them. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah. Don't take
Yeah.
it from me, ask yourself.
Right, exactly. Like you said, it's a sophisticated system, and it's always speaking to us if we have the ears to listen.
Yes. And then also, one other cool concept is that the air has a water content. The humidity. There's water all in our lung vapor and in the air between us. And
Yes.
there's
Chill.
information traveling through and between people on energetic charges through the water. We're actually kind of like swimming in a weird way.
Yup. Yup. We can breathe underwater, guys. Just
Right.
in case you didn't know.
Aren't we in sort of an ocean then? Like, hey.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the woman that I've learned a lot from this water, she's water priestess on Instagram. Her name's Jilly. She's been drinking the kangen water for now 10 years. And I mean, she is like a walking machine. She's spewing out the codes about water and has done so much research. She's gone to almost like so many springs to test. She's gone to the facility in Japan multiple times. Like,
Whoa.
she's a huge inspiration for me. And yeah, she like her codes that come out about water. She's like, guys, like we breathe water. Like everything's water. Everything. Yeah.
Like our lung vapor is known, like when it's cold outside in the winter and you breathe out and you can see your breath, it's because you're breathing out. That's water vapor.
Mm-hmm. I know, it really starts to blow your socks off when you realize that it's everywhere. We depend on it in every way. All our organs are basically made up of primarily water. And on a molecular count, like cellularly, 99.9% water.
That is amazing. Okay, going back to structure of water, because there's Dr. Emoto, and then I found this woman yesterday, Veda Austin. She's been doing, she references Emoto as well, but her work is a little bit different. She is doing some really cool stuff where she freezes water and basically like reads the messages in the water. Or
Yeah.
She first started out, okay, she has created these things called hydroglyphs. And it's where she has 36,000 images, I believe, right now of water that she's frozen. She'll put it in a petri dish and she'll put the water on top of pieces of paper that have images or words on them, and the ice will freeze in a certain pattern repeatably, like on the same image. So she'll write the word consciousness and she'll put the petri dish on that piece of paper in the freezer. And she says once she gets the same result 50 times, the same exact pattern on the same exact word, she considers that a hydroglyph. So she's got about 30 or 40 hydroglyphs now. So this is where supposedly anyone at home, you can repeat her thing. You can write that word on that piece of paper, freeze it, and you should get that exact pattern that she has labeled as that hydroglyph. So isn't that bizarre? And so, okay, so I don't know if I'll include this in our podcast because it's crazy and I haven't unpacked it yet, but like I had an experience with water communicating to me yesterday that creeped me out. And I'll tell you, so it was like this podcast I listened to with Veda Austin was like 2.5 hours. So I had it on and she was talking about freezing. So I didn't intend to do this, but while the podcast was going, I did her experiment. And so she's like, yeah, so you can get a petri dish or whatever and put water in it. And like, you can, yeah, so maybe give it a thought or ask, you can even ask a question, or you can put an image under it. Like sometimes somebody put an image of their dog and it made something that looked so creepily like the dog. And it was like, yeah. And so she's like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm like listening to it and I'm like, I want to freeze some water, right? So I'm listening and I'm like, I don't have any Petri dishes, but I have this like plastic Tupperware lid and I'm like, okay, that'll work. It's clear. Put some water in it and I put it in but oh yeah, I put the water in and I'm like, like I didn't prepare for this. Like, I don't know what to do here. And so all I kept saying to the water was, hi. I was like, hi, hello. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to put you in the freezer now. And so it was so funny. And so I opened the freezer after a little while and it wasn't frozen yet, but I was like, I'm like, oh, should I keep talking to it? And all I could think of to say was hi. And I was like, hi. So I'm like, cool. All right, put it back in the freezer. And there was two things that happened. So the first thing was I'm listening to the podcast and she said so water freezes in like a few stages. And on her Instagram, she has a video of it, like water freezing in like a stop motion. And so you can see, so what happens is when water's completely frozen, it's actually pretty opaque. So it can be hard to see patterns in. So she said there's this like really special time where it's like almost half frozen, where there's still some water and like one layer of frozen ice. And that's the easiest time to see patterns. And so I checked this lid of water after like 45 minutes and it had like so many like images in it. And she was like, oh, like give it time. Like she was like, you may not see anything at first, or, you may need to develop a relationship with your water before it'll start feeding information back to you. She kind of was just like, don't be discouraged. But right away it was just like, boom. It was like this like crazy like landscape of like recognizable symbols and images. And it was like,
Whoa.
so on one corner there was like this like sword, and then there was pyramids, and there was a heart in the middle, and there was on one corner. Okay, I have to tell you, there's this song that's been stuck in my head, and it has the number 5 in it. Like it says the number 5 so many times, and so this whole week I'm like, why is this song stuck in my head? And like, is there something significant about the number 5 I'm supposed to know? Like, I've just been chewing on that, and like in the corner of this dish was a 5 that was like so recognizable. I'll see if I can figure out when I edit this how to put the images of what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Do like,
So you took a photo of it.
oh yeah.
Like
And it was hard, by the way, if you guys do this, like it was hard to get the photos because you have to get the light.
You need particular cameras too to like, yeah.
If you want to do a professional job, but my difficulty was getting light to hit the surface of the ice in just the right way where it would reflect, so I could like I was literally just like so awkward. But
that is so fascinating.
I was like, whoa. And I was like, still I'm a skeptic, which I love about myself, but I was like, that could be just like an accident, I don't know. So then I put the lid back in the freezer. It was there for the rest of the day. And then I went at night before I went to bed. I was like, oh, it's completely frozen now, so it probably looks different. Like, I wonder what it looks like. And I took it out, and it like has this giant smile on it. And there's one eye. It's this like giant smiley face. And in the surface, I shit you not, I got a video of it. If I can put a video picture in picture, if I can't, I'll put the video at the end of the podcast or something. But like on the surface is written H-I. It says hi.
Stop.
I'm not kidding. Literally like capital H-I. And it's just like smile and within one eye. I don't know. I was like,
oh my God. You have to send me these after we're done this podcast.
Right
I'm
after.
on the edge of my seat.
Right after, I'll send you this, and I'll send you the podcast that I listened to, and I was just like, oh my gosh, water has consciousness.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wow.
That I know. So that's when I was like, what is consciousness? And that is the awareness and response to environment. And so I was like, that show. So her hydroglyphs show the response to a repeated response, a repeated reliable response to the environment, which
Right.
for me is, that's the consciousness part. So I know, so there was two things. It was like the ability for us to structure water, like the kangen machine structures water so that biologically we can function well, our bodies can absorb the water and use it. And then
Yeah.
there's this other concept of imprinting and structuring the water through like thoughts, intentions. I'm like, hi. I'm like, you sing,
Yes.
you feel love or you feel gratitude, and now your water can be imprinted with the feeling that you're directing at it. And so then that's water as a medium for being imprinted upon. And then there's that next concept of what if the water has messages for you? Like water wants to tell you something.
Right.
So that's where her experiments, the Veda Austin experiments, are getting interesting because they're kind of
Yeah.
like, well, maybe water wants to tell us something. I don't know. And so,
Right.
yeah, currently falling down the rabbit hole. I'm not at the bottom yet. So,
Well, we know what the ocean's like. I mean, it just keeps going, it sounds like. There's never really a total bottom because even the bottom's got stuff.
yes, that's true. Even the bottom of
Wow.
that stuff.
That's incredible. I am blown away. Wow.
I know. And yeah. And that there's just so much I could say, but maybe I'll just end it there for
I
now.
know, it goes so deep. So many layers.
Yeah, so many. So I feel like takeaways here, like for people who want to get their water as good as they can, and I know like I'm in the same boat where I feel like I've heard of the Kangen machine, and then I actually don't know what the cost is, but it seems kind of like high. Like a lot of people don't feel like they can go that high. So I've been doing that thing of like purifying the water, remineralizing it, finding different electrolyte powders to help me. Like I'm still in that space, but I need to level up from that. So is Kangen, is that the answer?
Definitely an abundant frequency, right? To be able to see a number and not be triggered by it, and instead be able to see the value that you're getting and the return on investment. It helped me get out of a lot of scarcity mindset, and a lot of it put into perspective how much people spend on miscellaneous things, and when it comes to their health they're like, no, that's way too expensive. Like people spend 5K on a week vacation and don't blink an eye, but here's a machine that can last you over 30 years. People buy, there's so many things that you can compare it to that people purchase and
Yeah.
see like that price as, oh, that makes sense. But then with water, even when you start to break down what you're already spending on water too, if people are buying bottled, if they're going, to fill up somewhere, long term, it's worth every penny. And you're paying for the quality. You're paying for how it's medical grade. You're paying for the access that it's giving you to deeper layers of your being and healing. And I've witnessed miracles happen where people take the plunge and address their scarcity mindset and dive deep into the biggest investment that they've ever made. It was like that for me.
Yeah.
I never spent more than $200 on something all at once. So this was a huge thing for me. And I trusted, I had faith. I knew that I was going to get that return on investment. I would literally be drinking back my money in the way I saw it.
Totally.
And I'd do it all over again.
And just based on like how
Yeah.
much better people seem to feel, like, yeah, it's
Oh my
so
God,
worth
there's
it.
no cost on that. You can't
Yeah.
put a price to that,
Is there like a
and
network? Is there like a network where, like, I'm in Vancouver, like, can I find out who has these machines and go try the water kind of
of
thing?
course, sis. Yeah. So my community that I'm a part of, like, we're worldwide. We have a lot of people everywhere with machines. So I know that there's people in Vancouver, and you can let me know after this, like maybe the nearest town that you're at, so that I can look on we have what we call a water share map. So I can like reach out to that person directly,
What?
be like, hey family, I got somebody that wants to try the water.
I need to
Like,
go
are you
today. I got my shoes
just
on.
experiencing it? Yeah, like going to that person's home, seeing the machine, seeing the bubbles as they first come out. Like that is the best way to experience the power of living water, is to be in the experience yourself and just trying it and
Yeah,
look into it.
the water is bubbly. What is that part of it? Is that hydrogen?
Yeah, that's the molecular hydrogen. So it's rising. You see how it like rises? That's what happens in nature. Like it's electrolyzed. So you can visually see the hydrogen interacting with the water and how there's life in it. There's
Yeah.
voltage, there's that energy. It literally looks like you're drinking the universe sometimes. Like I am always just amazed when I look at it. I'm like drinking in the cosmos.
Oh, awesome. I love that.
That's what it feels like too. My
Oh.
goodness. So yeah, I can definitely hook you up. And if there's anybody on here that's listening and is intrigued as well and just wants to experience it and try it, never hesitate to reach out. Like I said, we are worldwide, and calling in that there is somebody near you that will open up their home to try it. I know that there's even pop-up stores now where distributors like myself are opening up stores with machines to be able to give water shares and trials for people. A lot of them are free for the first 2 weeks, and that's all you really need to know that it's for you or it's not. Consistently drinking it and cutting out other things like sodas and carbonated drinks. Even I encourage people to try and cut out coffee when they're trying the water, so that they can really see if the water is able to help replace that addiction that so many of us have. And it's a more reliable energy source because it's sustainable, and you're not going to have that high and then come back down low and need more. So yeah, that's an amazing tool, a resource to share. Even something that you want to look into to test your water for life force. There's something called an ORP meter, which measures the liquid's potential to oxidate you. So just like if you were to cut open an apple, that apple was once alive from the tree. You've cut it open, it's exposed to oxygen, it starts to brown. So just like water, when it's left its source, life force starts to drop quickly. That's why you can't bottle true, like, good water, because sometimes it's sitting there for a year before it's actually going into your body. So an ORP meter is able to test the liquid's potential to oxidate you. So if you put that in carbonated water, it's going to be a huge positive reading where it's telling you it's acidic, it's aging you, like this is not good, the carbon dioxide, all this stuff that we're like putting in our body that's causing inflammation and oxidation. And then on the reverse side, the more negative the reading, the more antioxidants, the more life. So the kangen water comes out to be 750 negative. The amount of energy that is in that. And then there's people that go to spring water and it's like positive 200, which means there's not electrons in there. So if you're curious about your spring water where you're filling up and you're like, it's the best thing you think for you, test it with an ORP meter.
Wow.
Bring even a sample of water to like your nearest water store. There's places that you can see what's in the water. Getting pH drops as well, like testing your bottles of water, because they're all acidic, they're all lifeless, which means it's acidic. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is so
Yeah.
illuminating. Illuminating essence. This is Selena, everybody. Follow her, Illuminating Essence. I was like, this is so illuminating to this whole realm of water. I think we've just introduced a lot of cool concepts and given a lot of people a lot to think about. And I know I'll be having some more episodes on water because there's so much to go into. But I thank you so much for joining today and sharing your knowledge and your spirit. And I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, sis. Grateful to be here. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in this far and has stayed with us along the journey and is soaked in the codes, like honoring you. You're here for a reason.
Totally. Yes. Thank you for being here, everybody. And we'll see you next time on The Ethereal Explorer.
strange